If you had to re-record this because your stupid phone didn't save the last recording, even though you recorded it all the way, clap your hands. As you could probably tell, I'm pissed. I recorded this entire video, and then my stupid phone, for some reason, decided to delete everything. Just everything. Thanks. Getting you replaced, you stupid ass phone. Anyway, I'm here to do the whole Hetalia Genealogy thing. You've probably watched a couple videos on it, but yeah, let's get started. So of course, I was born, raised, and still live in the United States, and starting from my mother's side, I'm Scottish, Irish, German, and Norwegian. However, supposedly, I have an ancestor from her side that was Native American from the Dakota tribe, but I don't know much about them, so I can't say all that much on them. If I recall correctly, a portion of my mom's side of the family came into the United States through Canada, and one of my mom's ancestors, who I think would be my great-great-grandfather, served in World War I in the Canadian Army since he couldn't get into the United States Army. But no one really talks about him, considering his mental health went downhill after World War I. I think in modern day he would be considered suffering with PTSD. After a really bad incident involving my grandma and her siblings and him, she never saw him again. On my father's side, the genealogy is actually surprisingly organized. There's a huge binder that records all about his family side, but I haven't read it in some years, so I don't know all the details. Starting from my father's side, there's English, French, and German and Norwegian blood. Although it was debated whether my dad's mom, my grandma, was either part Norwegian or part Swedish, but I guess she was part Norwegian. As far as I know, I think the French part of my dad's ancestry either used to be royalty or were connected with royalty, but I don't know all the details on that. And while I have ancestors from my dad's side that fought in the American Revolution for the United States and the Civil War for the North, I'm not entirely in the know with everything. I want to add this in because even though she's not blood related to me, she's still a big part of the family. So I have two grandmothers on my dad's side, one who I'm biologically related to, who is no longer with us, and the other is sort of like a step-grandmother, stepmom to my dad. And my dad's stepmom was actually born in a Japanese internment camp during World War II, and obviously since I mentioned that, she is Japanese, but I don't know like everything about her ancestry because I'm not blood related to her. So before I start rambling off about all the weird and dark parts of my family, I'm just gonna start relating myself to the Hetalia characters, and I'm gonna start with America. Um, well, I mean, I eat fast food once in a blue moon. And yeah, I watch horror movies, but I'm not really scared by them because I'm pretty much numb to all that. I'm going to be honest, like, most people have like stereotypes about Americans or like sort of a general image of like what Americans are like. I'm the opposite of that. Like, I don't know. I've always sort of felt like the odd one out compared to so many other people like around me that sort of fit in more with like how people sort of see like stereotypical Americans or like, yeah. I know like one main stereotype is like, you know, when someone's an American tourist when they like speak really loudly, but I don't speak loudly. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but my speaking volume in videos has to be brought all the way up so much because if I don't do it, I sound really quiet. Like, that's just how quiet I am, and I'm sort of seen as like black sheep because everyone else in my family, besides one of my cousins, like speaks really loudly when talking, and then my cousin and I just don't speak loudly when we're talking at all. Now I'll go on to Scotland, even though technically he hasn't had a canon introduction, but I'm still gonna count him. Um, I'm just gonna go over like some basic sort of traits that I've sort of like think Scotland would have. When it comes to like being brave, I think I consider myself being brave because of all the stuff that I've had to go through and I still have to go through. Um, Also, with the whole alcohol thing, I'm just gonna cover it now because it's probably gonna come up again with Ireland and Germany. I'm not an alcoholic, even though both sides of my family have histories with abusing alcohol. Um, there's actually a funny story with this. One of my ancestors during the Prohibition, uh, he got shot in the stomach because he tried to get away with like stealing beer, and he kept telling the grandkids, all of his grandkids, like got the special and gave him a second belly button. It wasn't until they were older that they found out, no, he's just an idiot. But yeah, and considering that I'm turning 21 soon, I'm probably going to pop my alcohol cherry soon. I'm going to talk about Ireland, and even though they don't have the official design, I kind of have an idea of what they would be like, so much so that I'm kind of protective over like how Ireland's portrayed in like different like fan fictions and like OCs. Um, First off, please don't apply any stereotypes regarding Northern Ireland to like me because my Irish ancestors left Ireland long before the whole conflict with Northern Ireland. And the same goes with my German ancestry. None of my German ancestors were part of the Third Reich. They left prior to the 1900s. I I don't like bringing this up because this is like a month old or over a month old drama with the whole anti-Hetalia idiots. But I don't want them to start throwing garbage at me once they find out I have German ancestry. Anyway, the main stereotype with Irish people is them being friendly, and um, I'm not that. Here's the thing. I'm nice at anime conventions and online, but if you met me in real life outside of cosplay, let's say at a grocery store while I'm getting food, it'd be a stark contrast. I'm not really a social butterfly unless I'm close to people, and I'm not really the type to just go out of my way to befriend people. And as for the whole liking potatoes thing, I mean, yeah, I like potatoes. Not prepared by my mom since she has England level cooking skill, but I like potatoes. By the way, don't ask how I survived into adulthood when my mom has England level cooking skill and my dad is somehow worse than that. Probably has to do with that whole luck of the Irish thing. Another thing that's notable in Irish history is that things aren't often well planned out. Um, Honestly, when it comes to me, like if it's something that I'm really interested in, like super motivated to do, then I usually get it done. But if it's something that just does not interest me whatsoever, good luck seeing anything get done. Enough for Germany. Uh, I definitely don't fit into not tolerating any mistakes, considering I'm a walking mistake. Okay, I'm sorry, but considering that I'm a living, breathing, starving artist stereotype, depending on who you ask, they might say, yeah, Ghost, you are a walking mistake. I can relate to him dealing with an unreasonable boss, though, considering my relationship with my mom. I hope she doesn't see this. Although I've never really made sweets before, I've had people suggest I go to culinary school, which is pretty ironic considering both my parents can't cook, but somehow I can. And I also relate to Germany's hobby of reading, considering like one of my favorite things to do is read, and I have like a huge collection of history books that I still need to finish. And as for the whole being into BDSM thing, let's not touch that topic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Norway. I actually fit a lot of traits of his, like being mysterious, reclusive, and lacking emotions and facial expressions. The latter two are so pronounced that I almost got diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder, which is a cluster A personality disorder where a person with it is completely cut off from social circles, lacking social cues, and just doesn't socialize at all. A lot of the symptoms actually fit APH Norway, so there's a new headcanon for you guys. The only reason I didn't get diagnosed with that was because it was discovered that I was autistic. The two are surprisingly similar, despite one being a personality disorder and the other being developmental disorder. Shut up, anti-vaxxers. Vaccines don't cause autism. Now the only thing that doesn't fit is seeing and interacting with supernatural creatures. Next up is England, and I can gladly say that I fit one trait of his, which is tea drinking. Even though Britain might have taken credit for that from China, but you know how it is. I definitely fit with him being stubborn, again, considering the crap that I've been through and still go through. And I also fit with him not knowing how to express himself. Refer to the previous section with Norway, where I said that I was autistic. I also like rock and metal music, and I mentioned this in one of my Danish Slaughterhouse readings. I think it was chapter 10 or something, where I mentioned I used to be one of those annoying rock/metal hipsters. I don't fit with him being a bad cook, though. That would fit with my mom. I really hope that she does not see this. And last is the wonderful and beautiful friends. It's kind of funny because I constantly joke about going for glasses of wine, and I feel like in the next few years at family reunions, I'm going to be that one person who likes the wine a little too much. And although I'm not like entirely indulged with fashion design, I do like design my own OCs, and I like designing outfits for them. When it comes to being romantic, haha, haha. I should have mentioned this in the Germany section, but I fit with him being awkward with women. And me being romantic? What's that? I pretty much freeze up like an old crappy computer whenever I'm around like women I like. Speaking of, unlike friends, I'm not scared of computers, considering I kind of have to work on them quite a bit. You know, writing and drawing. I'm not into IT. Even though some family members think I am, please stop asking me to fix your computers. I do not do that. And when it comes to not bothering to remember English and considering French the language of love, I think French is a cool language. Like, I'm definitely not like, well, it's the language of love. I just think it's a really interesting language that I should probably pick up lessons for, considering that I'm slacking. Yeah, it's not that I'm purposely forgetting English, it just sort of happens, and it's embarrassing forgetting random words and phrases, because then it's like, well, what if I need to know them? What do I say? It's just, it's a mess. It is a mess. So that's pretty much everything. I think, like, if I get one of those Ancestry kits, like I know my cousin that I mentioned earlier, she's, into those sort of things. Like, maybe if I get one of those, I could go more in depth in the future with my Ancestry, but for now, this is just what I know currently. And I'm sorry this took a while to get out. It's just that my freaking phone just decided to delete everything for some reason, and I wasn't motivated for some time to re-record everything at once. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys next time.